Tonight on NewsWatch 12 at 6, a couple of suspects are on the loose in Curry County. Find out how you can help in the search coming up.
Plus, we're celebrating 40 years of NewsWatch 12. We invite you to join us to look back at the station's 40-year legacy coming up tonight.
Our attention is already turning to our next winter storm. Winter storm watches have been issued for a good chunk of southern Oregon and northern California. We'll talk about potential impacts to later this week coming up.
Watching out for you. This is NewsWatch 12 at 6.
After feeling like spring this past weekend, winter returned to southern Oregon and northern California today. Thank you for choosing NewsWatch 12 at 6. I'm Jerry Howard.
And I'm Haley Gravett. Showers continue to impact our region this evening, and snow is creating some slippery travel in our higher elevations. Here's some of that snow in our higher elevations tonight. This is a live look out at Mount Ashland as a winter weather advisory remains in place for the Cascade and the Siskiyou Mountains.
And now let's turn to Stormwatch 12 Chief Meteorologist Matt Hoffman, who's tracking this storm and another for later this week. Matt?
Yeah, we're still going to see the lingering effects of this system out there as we move into this evening and tonight. Definitely some chillier temperatures today, and we're also tracking some lingering rain and snow showers. Pretty gusty conditions in Klamath Falls. We're seeing gusts up to 30 miles per hour. There still are a couple of wind advisories that go until 8 o'clock for tonight. I still could see some gusts up to 40-45 miles per hour. When it comes to travel, slippery roads expected through the Cascades and Siskiyous. A winter weather advisory going until 1 a.m. tonight, but those roads will still be pretty slippery even if you're heading out early tomorrow. You can see those snow showers, especially along the Cascades. Some bursts of heavier snow, and we're seeing more of that snow now that we're getting past sunset. Going to be sticking to the roads. Definitely very slippery from Lake of the Woods up through Diamond Lake. Very poor visibility up towards Willamette Pass. And then taking a look on the east side, starting to see some more slippery conditions starting to develop for parts of the east side. Warner Mountain Summit, as well as up along 97 through Chemult. So give yourself a little bit of extra time overnight and then into tomorrow morning. The bulk of the accumulating snow, upwards of a couple to as much as 6 inches possible along the Cascades. Tomorrow, a break in the action, but we're tracking the next series of winter storms for later this week. Several winter storm watches have been posted. We'll talk more about what we could be looking at for our region later this week into this weekend coming up.
And the United Community Action Network is planning to activate a warming shelter to those in need in the Grants Pass area. If you take a look at your screens here, that warming shelter will take place this weekend, March 1st through the 3rd at 1990 Northwest Washington Boulevard. The entrance is on Northwest Morgan, and doors will open at 5:30 p.m. Guests must be inside by 9 p.m. Wake-up calls are at 6 a.m. with breakfast and coffee available.
And on our crime watch, Curry County Sheriff's Office is asking for public help after a report of a car break-in and credit card fraud. Last Monday, Port Orford resident Jessica Moronis reported her vehicle was broken into. Moronis also told deputies her mother's credit card fraudulently was being used around the Gold Beach area. Gold Beach police attempted to find the suspects, but the time delay made them unable. Police who can identify or who've seen the suspects are asked to contact Gold Beach Police. The Oregon Department of Transportation is collaborating with a geology team for a project to help with traffic in Medford.
And you might have noticed some crews drilling along Larson Creek Path. NewsWatch 12's McKenna Marks was there today and spoke to ODOT about the project. McKenna, what role does the geotech team play in this project?
Well, Haley, Jerry, I met up with ODOT at Larson Creek Path today as the geotech team was setting up. This week, the geotech team will be drilling into the bedrock near that path to make sure everything is ready to go for a future project. During construction projects, crews want to do their best to respect the wildlife in the area, but it's also important that the geotech teams can test out the rock or soil to make sure everything is safe for construction. And that's exactly what's happening along Larson Creek Path this week. Ultimately, this drilling project is an important piece of the prep work for a future project that will create a dual right-hand turn lane near Highland and Barnett. ODOT says geotech teams play a vital role in this prep work so these construction projects are successful.
And I've had a couple other projects where I had them come out and I got to understand a little bit of what they do when they are trying to grab their data and they're getting their samples. And it's in preparation for projects when you might have a retaining wall or anything that you want to be withstanding over long periods of time.
Dillinger says this project is expected to take a couple of days to complete. Drilling is expected to take place from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. While the drilling project is underway, Dillinger says the path will still be accessible. And in regards to the turn lane project on Highland and Barnett, ODOT says it's still in the design phase, but construction is expected to officially begin in 2026 and take about 15 months to complete. Live in studio, McKenna Marks, Newswatch 12.
Well, starting tomorrow, Cherry Lane between Mary B. Lane and Ariel Heights Drive is closed until Friday, March 15th in Medford. The city says the closure will allow contractors to widen Cherry Lane for a housing development. Detours will be available on Hillcrest Road, Cherry Lane, and Stanford Avenue. Access will be available to local residents.
And excavation work in Klamath Falls has been postponed due to weather. The city of Klamath Falls says that they are currently planning on performing the work tomorrow, but it depends if weather conditions stabilize. If the work is performed tomorrow, the northbound lane of Walnut Street between 4th and 5th Street will be closed. This is so that crews can repair a sewer line. The closure will last from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
In Oregon, average gasoline prices have risen 19.6 cents per gallon in the last week, bringing the state average to $3.71. According to Gas Buddy, the cheapest gas in Oregon is priced at $3.08, while the most expensive is at $4.79. The national average has fallen 1.9 cents, sitting at $3.24.
And if you take a look at your screens here, you can see the average gas price by county here in Southern Oregon. Klamath County has the cheapest at $3.65. Jackson County right behind at $3.75. Lake County at $3.81 and Josephine County at $3.92. Curry County is at $4.14 and Siskiyou County is at $4.53.
In a money alert tonight, we're turning now to the ongoing $300 million revamp of Medford's water reclamation facility. This project is set to take 5 or 6 years, and right now a group is working on a preliminary design for facility changes. The facility cleans and treats wastewater before it returns to the Rogue River Basin. Medford City Council approved these changes in August after the Department of Environmental Quality updated permit conditions for river discharge.
Required to do a very large upgrade to the treatment plant in order to meet those new permit conditions. So all this work is basically in order to meet those new permit conditions to make sure the water we're putting into the Rogue River is nice and clean.
And is set to be completed in September. The water reclamation facility is set to serve a population of more than 212,000 people by the year 2045. It covers the entire Bear Creek drainage basin besides Ashland, White City, and Eagle Point. More information about the project is on our website, KDRV.com.
In a developing story, the Federal Trade Commission is suing to block a proposed merger between grocery store giants Kroger and Albertsons. Today, Oregon Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum joined the FTC and a bipartisan coalition of attorneys general from across the nation. They want to block a proposed Kroger-Albertsons merger. The FTC says the $24.6 billion deal would eliminate competition and lead to higher prices for millions of Americans. The FTC filed a lawsuit today in U.S. District Court in Oregon. And Kroger and Albertsons, two of the nation's largest grocers, agreed to merge in October of 2022. The company said a merger would help them better compete with Walmart, Amazon, Costco, and other big rivals. And the city of Medford is planning on building a 5-acre neighborhood park off Midway Road.
It's on a 30-acre plot of land for which the city has other plans. Joining us live is Newswatch 12's Luke Doughton.
Yeah, Luke, you talked to the city's Parks and Rec director about all of the plans for this park. What can you tell us about what is planned for that land?
So Haley, Jerry, besides that 5-acre park, they're also planning on using the rest of the 30-acre plot that they have here to add more park stuff. The only problem is it might take a while to be complete. The reason for that is funding. The city of Medford is asking the state and federal government for funding to complete both of these projects. Now, as I said, it could take a while just to get that funding done. Right now, you're taking a look at the entrance to the 5-acre neighborhood park, where the entrance would be to that park. This is part of the 30-acre plot. Now let's talk about that other 25 acres. Bear Creek runs through the middle of that 30-acre plot, and the city is looking to install 2 bridges that would connect both sides of Bear Creek. They're also looking at adding things to the other 25-acre section, such as a dog park and bike trails and bike tracks. City Parks and Rec Director Rich Rosenthal told me that this would only happen after that 5-acre neighborhood park is complete.
Let's take care of the neighborhood park part of the property, which is the highest priority for the city in terms of that level of service.
Right now, you're taking a look at the city's master plan for the park. This includes both the 5-acre neighborhood park and that other 25-acre section I've been talking about. Rosenthal also told me that finishing the 25-acre section will be complicated, and that's because the 25 acres sits in the floodplain for Bear Creek. This makes building those bridges complicated. And again, the funding for both the 5-acre neighborhood park and then the 25 acres behind me, it's separate, and both of those projects need to be completely funded before they can be completed. Reporting live in Medford, Luke Doughton, NewsWatch 12.
And still to come on NewsWatch 12 at 6, a new study has linked air pollution to Alzheimer's disease. We'll break down the details of the study coming up for you in our Health Watch.
Not seeing all that way in the much of precipitation with this system, but we're tracking some much wetter storms for later this week. A closer look coming up. But first, let's take a live look right now at Medford. Watching out for you, this is NewsWatch 12 at 6.
Call Twin Creeks Retirement today for more information.
Super sale at Denver Mattress ends soon.
Watching out for you. This is NewsWatch 12 at 6.
On a Health Watch tonight, a new study links air pollution to signs of Alzheimer's disease.
According to the study, people who inhale higher concentrations of small airborne particles such as exhaust from vehicles are more likely to have signs of the disease in their brains. The research also found a strong link between pollution and signs of Alzheimer's for people who were not already genetically predisposed to the disease. The study was done using tissue from more than 200 donors. Donors who lived in areas with high levels of traffic-related air pollution had more Alzheimer's-related plaque in their brains than donors who lived in areas with lower air pollution.
And the number of young people requiring prescriptions for depression or anxiety skyrocketed since the pandemic. That's according to a new study. The number of people ages 12 to 25 was already growing, but since COVID, the dispensing rate rose almost 64% more than normal and more than 130% for young women. Experts say while the rise in numbers is alarming, antidepressants can be life-saving. They say to look at your child for behaviors or mood changes and to always consult your doctor.
And in a consumer alert, new data show a surprising trend among U.S. smokers. They're turning from cigarettes to smoke-free alternatives like vapes, and they're doing it at a faster than expected rate. According to the maker of Marlboro, cigarettes' share of the U.S. nicotine industry fell to 60% last year. That's down from 80% just 5 years earlier. If that trend continues, it will only take 3 more years for cigarettes to make up less than half of the nation's nicotine sales.
The SOU and OIT women's basketball teams get their postseason journey started tomorrow. We'll talk about their quarterfinal matchups coming up next in sports.
We saw a shot of some colder air today, but an even stronger system on the way for later this week, packing some much colder air with it. I'll have the details on those winter storm watches that have been issued for a multi-day winter storm that'll carry right into this weekend. That's all next, but first, let's take a live look right now at Grants Pass. Watching out for you, this is NewsWatch 12 at 6.
Businesses since 1981.
Now, Stormwatch 12 weather with Chief Meteorologist Matt Hoffman.
The snow is coming down up at the Crater Lake Visitor Center, building back some of that snow that we lost with those warmer temperatures over the weekend. Snow showers will continue as we head into tonight, and some bursts of some heavier snow, especially in these darker blue shade areas on radar. A few isolated spotty snow showers on the east side, but just enough to make things a little bit slippery out there. Now that the sun has set, or will be setting, we will be seeing definitely those conditions going downhill on some of these higher elevation roads. Any wet roads will turn icy. We're already at freezing in Klamath Falls, 30 in Lakeview, and we're likely going to be heading down into the lower 20s and even teens up in the mountains and over on the east side. 43 currently in Medford. It's 42 in Montague, 42 degrees in Brookings. Colder tonight, that's for sure, down to 32 in Medford, 21 in Klamath Falls. We'll have some lingering shower activity into tonight, and we may even see a flake down in some of the lower elevations in the Rogue Valley, but that's a very slight chance, and it's not expected to stick. Now tomorrow, a quieter weather day. Partly to mostly cloudy skies. We'll see some chillier temperatures compared to average, 48 in Medford, up to 41 in Klamath Falls and 46 in Mount Shasta. A bit of a break in the action before that next storm system works our way, and this is definitely going to tap into some much colder air in the Gulf of Alaska, and that is what's going to work its way into our neck of the woods and provide definitely some bigger impacts. So when it comes to later this week, when it comes to rain, snow, and wind, notice the 5-day precipitation outlook, much heavier precipitation moving in Thursday and Friday, and snow levels will be coming down as that colder air filters into the Pacific Northwest. So we're expecting those snow levels to lower and travel impacts only to go up as the week progresses. So here's how things play out. Tomorrow, some lingering snow showers in the morning. Roads will likely be slippery through the Cascades, and then we'll see some better travel weather overall Tuesday afternoon, even on into Wednesday. We're going to see some milder temperatures, more seasonal high temperatures expected. We'll start to see as we move through Wednesday afternoon, rain building into the coast, some rain and snow showers along the Cascades. We may hold off on the wet weather in the Medford area, better chance for rain towards Grants Pass. But then look what happens as we move into Wednesday night and into Thursday. Winds are going to crank up, and that heavier rain and heavier snow in the higher elevation moves in, and snow levels will be lowering as we go through Thursday into Friday. The first phase of this storm, that heavy band, that widespread band of heavier rain and snow, this goes through Thursday. So winter storm watches have been posted along the Cascades and Siskiyous, the east side, Siskiyou County above 3,000 feet, and the west side of southern Oregon above 2,500 feet. That's where snow and wind will have the biggest impacts to travel. But as the week progresses, snow levels will lower, and even some valley snow is possible, at least some light amounts Friday into Saturday. But some treacherous travel in many of our higher elevations over on the east side, not only because of heavy snow, but those strong winds could lead to whiteout conditions at times. And you can see how those snow levels drop Friday morning, potentially getting down to some of the valley floors, but a much better shot of that Friday night into Saturday. And the unsettled weather does look to continue even into this weekend. So expecting high winter weather impacts Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So if you have travel plans later this week into this weekend, you want to stay tuned to the forecast as we get into more details on snow amounts and exact travel impacts and timing. But for the coast, slight chance of a morning shower tomorrow, that heavier rain picking up, especially into Thursday. Northern California, a little bit of a break, but more widespread wet weather moving in Thursday. Some of that precipitation is going to be very heavy, and snow levels will be lowering. Notice the milder temperatures in the basin, winds picking up on Wednesday. Rain will quickly change over to snow on Thursday. Some strong winds on Thursday, gusting on the east side, maybe up to 60 miles per hour. The mountains travel going to be very difficult, maybe at times impossible later this week with the heavy and blowing snow. Snow continues into this weekend. And then for the Rogue Valley, that widespread heavier rain moves in on Thursday, falling snow levels Friday into Saturday. So even our lower elevations and valleys will have that potential for some snow and maybe even some accumulations into the weekend. We'll have another look at your forecast coming up in just a bit.
Now, from the Ashley Home Store Sports Desk, NewsWatch 12 Sports with Peyton Manning.
The postseason is here for the Southern Oregon Raiders and the Oregon Tech Owls on Tuesday. Both teams will take the court in the quarterfinal round of the Cascade Conference Tournament. The number 1 Raiders will welcome in number 8 Corbin, and the number 2 Lady Owls will host number 7 Evergreen State. The Raiders don't have a lot riding on the CCC tournament because they have already secured a spot in the NAIA National Tournament. So while it would be a statement to win the CCC, the Raiders can look at this as a chance for some extra reps and some extra practice. First up for SOU is the Corbin Warriors. The Raiders are coming into this game riding a 14-game win streak. 2 of the 14 wins coming from a season series sweep over the Warriors. In each matchup with Corbin, SOU held them to 49 points while totaling 155. Heading into Tuesday's matchup, the Raiders are exuding confidence.
I think, we're going to continue to have our defense first mindset. That's what's kept us going this whole year. Offense will just come with it. So trust each other, trust our roles, and everything's going to be just fine.
And our goal is to just keep winning. You know, we want the tournament title. We want to make a run at nationals. And I think that this team is very capable of doing that. So our eyes are looking forward onto what's next.
Over at Danny Miles Court, the Lady Owls may be coming in with a chip on their shoulder and with something to prove. Seeded number 2 in the tournament is a great spot to be in, but now Tech needs to win out. Their first task won't necessarily be a tough one, as they will see Evergreen State in the quarterfinals. In both matchups against the Gooey Ducks during the regular season, Tech put up 164 points and held them to only 101. And while it is easy to look past opponents and focus on the end goal, head coach Joy Lease says they are taking it one game at a time.
Our thoughts right now are just let's take care of Evergreen on Tuesday. You know, one game at a time, and we got to play like there is no tomorrow, because really nothing is guaranteed. And you know, now we could be in a situation where we're fighting for our lives. So we've got to come out, play with a sense of urgency, and really get it done at the defensive end.
Well, coming up, for 4 decades now, we've been thankful to be watching out for you. To celebrate 40 years, we'll take a look back at our history serving you.
A lot of history to look back on. Now let's take a live look at Klamath Falls. This view brought to you by the Sky Lakes Medical Center. Watching out for you. This is NewsWatch 12 at 6.
Award-winning network free for 30 days.
Only on 12, a Medford business has a special anniversary today, and it has you to thank.
KDRV TV, NewsWatch 12, is celebrating its 40th anniversary today. We were first on the air February 26th, 1984.
And as we celebrate our 40th anniversary, we invite you to celebrate with us with the review of the journey that we've shared with NewsWatch 12.
And now, NewsWatch at 5.
A story today about NewsWatch 12 comes with 40 years of watching out for you. KDRV TV started February 26th, 1984, joined by KDKF and several other transmitter sites to extend our service across Southern Oregon and Northern California. NewsWatch 12 went on the air 40 years ago, 5 years after a meeting called by Ron Kramer. In 1979, he contacted orchardist Dunbar Carpenter about starting a new commercial television station in Medford.
We decided pretty much at that first meeting to put a company together, and we went and found 8 other local people to serve as investors, shareholders. So our intention was that it would be a locally owned and very community responsive and very high quality television operation.
KDRV is the area's ABC affiliate, providing local and network programming. KDRV's broadcast started with a welcome greeting by General Manager Keith Lawless, then a movie with Sean Connery and Donald Sutherland in The Great Train Robbery. It was a day when Van Halen's Jump was the U.S.'s #1 song and Rainbow Coalition leader Jesse Jackson ran for president.
I want you, the people with whom I have stood, to stand with me, and together we can win.
Vice President George Bush was campaigning for Ronald Reagan in 1984 when NewsWatch 12 was on the air in a Medford office building while permanent studios were under construction next door.
One of the things that was really important to me about developing the station was that it have a really top quality, first-rate technical plant. And it had an influence on the market.
The station that went on the air February 26, 1984, gave local news a home at NewsWatch 12 once its new facility was built. That date was September 16, 1985.
Live from KDRV Studios in Medford, this is NewsWatch 12.
Good evening and welcome to the very first edition of NewsWatch 12 at 5. We're pleased that you're here. I'm Tracy Mitchell.
I'm Jeffrey Riley. Here's what's happening.
What was happening then?
That was the week of Farm Aid, organized by Willie Nelson, Neil Young, and John Mellencamp, with performers such as Johnny Cash, Bob Dylan, and Tom Petty. In Ashland, Oregon Shakespeare Festival had its own milestone, celebrating 50 years of stage productions.
Don't miss the triumphant Golden Anniversary season, now underway at the Oregon Shakespearean Festival in Ashland.
Challenger, go with throttle up.
As NewsWatch 12 navigated the 1980s, it provided coverage of Challenger's deadly space shuttle explosion. NewsWatch 12 covered politics of the time, from presidential campaigns to local efforts for national defense and for defending local issues.
Is timber not put here for man's use? You are a hypocrite, buddy.
No, we want viable alternatives.
Local issues involved the area's natural habitat and a generational change for the region's economy as it transitioned from lumber industry reliance.
Because of that disclosure in the Tribune, it is highly unlikely that the $300 million plant will be constructed in the Medford area.
Other news coverage showed leaders leaving office, some on their own terms, others not.
Serving the state I love has come at a cost to another love, my family.
I have apologized to all concerned in this matter and sought their forgiveness. Now, too, I apologize to you.
Tourism brought people to the area, whether for action outdoors or for actors in theater productions such as Oregon Shakespeare Festival. Performers found their way to the area, such as Jim Belushi, who farms in the Rogue Valley.
Then I flew home and had a big Thanksgiving. I was in Oregon with my family.
Patrick Duffy just last month sold a Rogue Valley home where he'd lived 3 decades.
You watch the sun drop down behind the mountain, and you just consider yourself one of the luckiest people in the world.
And Ginger Rogers talked with NewsWatch 12 when her legendary dance partner, Fred Astaire, died in 1987.
I think Fred Astaire and Cary Grant were the two individuals, male, who had that quality.
Get the hose in, protect this low boy.
1987's Summer of Fire was a forerunner of summers we experience now. NewsWatch 12 reporters were in Siskiyou County, where more than 20 fires burned in Rogue River Siskiyou National Forest. They also were in southern Oregon, checking on wildfires and evacuations.
You go in there, we're advising you not to go in the area. If you do, you're going in at your own risk. No!
And the 90s brought more wildfires and flooding, such as 1994's Summer of Flames and the New Year's Day flood of 1997. The deadly Hole Mountain Fire near Sam's Valley was one of several 1994 wildfires, including others in the Rogue Valley and near Shady Cove.
We need to get everybody out of here. Okay.
Mother Earth goes through her changes, and we're here, and we have to live with them.
Hey, Mother Nature's burning out here, and I'll tell you what, she's going to burn.
That summer, wildfire killed Southern Oregon State University student Doug Dunbar. He was among 14 Oregon hotshots trapped and burned at Colorado's Storm King Mountain.
1995 brought a next step in the political legacy of U.S. Senator Mark Hatfield.
We have decided the time is here to come back home to Oregon.
Hatfield served 5 terms as a senator for Oregon, opening his Senate seat in 1996, which Ron Wyden filled after his own 15 years in the U.S. House. Hatfield's decision left Oregon filling both of its U.S. Senate seats, with Senator Bob Packwood resigning his Senate position in 1995. under threat of expulsion from harassment, abuse, and assault of women allegations.
As political floodgates opened for Hatfield's replacement in 1996, 1997 started with real flooding in the Rogue Valley on New Year's Day when Glenn Speace's house in Talent fell into a flooded Wagner Creek.
It's either laugh or cry, I don't know which.
The flooding caused National Guard deployment, emergency shelters, closed schools, closed bridges, and I-5 closed from the Rogue Valley to Dunsmuir. Ashland told its residents to avoid using water because the city could not keep up with filtering its overwhelmed water supply.
Bear Creek reached an all-time record high flow today. That's obvious to people who've had their lives affected or damaged by the flowing water in Bear Creek. As
KDRV navigated into the new century with a new president, NewsWatch 12 helped deliver news about an attack on the U.S. September 11, 2001, attributed to Middle East al-Qaeda terrorists led by Osama bin Laden. The attack killed 2,977 victims.
Well, based on what we have and not much air, I think we're going to pull them back. It's better safe than sorry.
The Biscuit Fire was the big wildfire in a fiery 2002 when it burned nearly 500,000 acres in the Rogue River Siskiyou National Forest in southern Oregon and northern California. It was named after Biscuit Creek in southern Oregon. Wildfires burned more than 1 million acres in Oregon that year. The urgency of response also caused a helicopter crash.
We all just kind of got silent. Everybody, the radio communications went dead. To my surprise, we got down there and Pilot Scott Dunn was standing next to his craft.
NewsWatch 12's history of watching out for you includes candidates' debates, such as when Governor John Kitzhaber's term limit in 2002 put Ted Kulongoski on the ballot, defeating Kevin Mannix. It also involves town halls with you, such as this presentation 20 years ago that could resonate today.
From NewsWatch 12, this is Town Hall. A closer look at community issues. Tonight's topic, Southern Oregon's growing pains.
Do you see long range, some issues about having available land in which to build?
Absolute concern, and it's not because of local government here, it's because of state land use law.
It definitely sounds like we are generating some discussion, and Rich Rody is here now from Oregon Action. What are some of the solutions? We're hearing a lot of people saying this is a big problem for them.
Well, you know, in our organization, we're coming together to really build a strong citizen consensus around the really critical problems of affordable housing.
So much history to look at over 40 years, and there's more history ahead on NewsWatch 12 and the Rogue Valley.
Coming up in this 40th anniversary newscast, we'll look at wildfires and pandemic in southern Oregon and northern California.
And we'll look at our more recent history, including ways that we're watching out for each other on NewsWatch 12 at 6. That's coming up next.
At East Coast Appliance, we sell the top brand name home appliances, and that's it. And at the best price, or it's free. Sure, you could go to a home improvement store where they could help you find the perfect paint color, pick out the right lawnmower, or find the right picket for your new fence project. But at East Coast, we focus on one thing, appliances. With an experienced staff of appliance specialists, the largest in-stock inventory in the state of Virginia, and the lowest price guaranteed. East Coast Appliance, the best price, or it's free.
Maytag dishwashers with dual power filtration are put to the test, demolishing this decadent dessert. With that kind of power, you won't be preoccupied with pre-rinsing. Piece of cake.
Peace of mind.
Again, only on 12, we're celebrating an anniversary here today.
NewsWatch 12 is celebrating 40 years of serving you with programming, news, and community outreach.
And we invite you to continue with us in our review of more recent years in the journey we've shared.
From NewsWatch 12, this is Extreme Makeover, Home Edition in Southern Oregon.
NewsWatch 12 and ABC featured Extreme Home Makeover Edition for a Rogue Valley family. An estimated 500 businesses donated time and support to build a new house in less than a week with a NewsWatch 12 partner. Sparrow Clubs USA coordinated with the show to build a home for the McPhail family.
It was the biggest secret I've ever had to keep in my life.
Show host Ty Pennington gave locally based Sparrow Clubs a national spotlight. Sparrow Clubs link a sparrow or a child with a life-challenging condition to a student group to support with community services that raise funds through sponsors for the Sparrow family.
Sort of blew me away that many people that age wanted to get involved in something as positive as that.
These Sparrow kids are literally changing the lives of kids, and it's beautiful to see.
Sparrow Club's largest annual fundraiser is underway this month, and it's based on another ABC program on NewsWatch 12, Dancing with the Stars.
And so Dancing with the Rogue Valley Stars is a big deal for us, and we have the biggest cast, one of the biggest casts we've ever had. We have a cast of 34 people this year, all vying for a trophy in one way or another.
Another ongoing NewsWatch 12 community outreach effort is Coats for Kids.
It's absolutely amazing blessing for all of us.
Our community is amazing, and that's the biggest thing. Is I just want to give props to our community because they come out and they provide the coats, provide the funds if we have to go buy coats.
Roosevelt Elementary's 300 coats last November was part of more than 5,000 coats donated and $20,000 raised just last fall. NewsWatch 12 thanks you for 33 years of support for our Coats for Kids effort, raising more than 150,000 coats with partners Windermere, Remax, Southern Oregon Linen, and you. NewsWatch 12 also has a history of community outreach using special reports.
This is a special presentation of NewsWatch 12. The Brit Festivals, 50 years of music.
Brit Music Festival's first 50 years covered an overgrown slope to an amphitheater, offering musical superstars at Jacksonville's outdoor venue.
I think I can put it into perspective by saying that when I took over, Brit had an annual budget of about $600,000, and when I left, it was $4.5 million.
As the Brit Festival enters its 62nd season this year, it still deals with wildfire smoke.
Watching out for you. This is NewsWatch 12 Breaking News.
An evacuation notice just coming in. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office issuing immediate evacuation notice for all businesses and residents in the Phoenix area due to the Alameda Drive fire. Air attacks continuing in this area and fire continuing to grow, Brian, as it moves its way up the I-5 corridor.
The Alameda, Slater, and South Obanchain fires all started on a windy September 8th. While the Slater and Devil fires burned more than 166,000 acres in Siskiyou and Josephine counties and killed 2 people, the South Obanchain fire burned more than 32,000 acres from Butte Falls to Shady Cove.
The Alameda fire started in North Ashland about midday and burned along Bear Creek through Phoenix and Talent to South Medford, killing 3 people, forcing immediate evacuations for thousands of people and burning more than 2,500 homes and businesses. More recently, the 2021 Bootleg fire burned more than 400,000 acres in Klamath and Lake counties as the 3rd largest fire in Oregon history, with the smoke plume extending to New York.
Siskiyou County's 2022 McKinney fire killed 4 people as it burned more than 60,000 acres, and its 2022 Mill fire killed 2 people, taking 144 homes and structures while burning nearly 4,000 acres from Weed to Lake Shastina at a rate of an acre in less than 10 seconds. Those fires coincided with a global coronavirus pandemic with lingering effects today since its official declaration in March of 2020.
Today, Josephine County Public Health announced 2 new positive cases of coronavirus. That brings the county's total number of confirmed cases to 4. Senators Ron Wyden and Jeff Merkley, as well as Representative Greg Walden and others, all joined in a letter to the White House. That letter is in support of Governor Brown's request for a major disaster declaration for the state due to the coronavirus.
Today's good news is a signal that Oregon is on the right path in fighting this virus.
The history of the station has taken our reporters to Medford's sister city, Alba, Italy, Grants Pass sister city in Siberia, to Vietnam, Honduras, Ireland, Israel, and the Middle East, providing special reports. NewsWatch 12 has earned various professional honors, including a prestigious Best Newscast Emmy Award.
As Southern Oregon, Northern California, and the nation recover from pandemic, fires, and political discord, NewsWatch 12 will continue watching out for you, extending our commitment made from the start.
You're the reason for NewsWatch 12, on air and online, a reason conveyed by legendary late NewsWatch 12 journalist Ron Brown when he was here for the station's 30th anniversary.
One other thing is certain, that in the next 30 years, we'll still be watching out for you. In Medford, Ron Brown, NewsWatch 12.
Ron Brown is right, and that was just scratching the surface, really, of the history. And like Ron, we respect you and we're grateful that you choose NewsWatch 12.
Absolutely, wouldn't be here without our viewers, and it's interesting to see how much of our history shared involves weather-related events, fires and flooding. And NewsWatch 12's Matt Hoffman also tracking our next storm system for us tonight.
Yes, as we start our 40th year, we now focus on a series of winter storms for later this week. Right now it's up in Alaska, but it is going to be on the way for later this week, tracking heavy snow, heavy rain, as well as some very strong winds for the region. We'll break down that forecast for later in the week coming up. But first, let's take a live look right now. This is the view of downtown Ashland from the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. Watching out for you, this is the NewsWatch 12 at 6.
At Dwyer Williams Churchos, we consider it an honor to call the Pacific Northwest home. It's where we work, raise our families, and pursue our passions. From coaching youth sports to conquering local trails and catching fresh powder days on the mountain, our hearts belong to this beautiful place. And when members of our community are injured due to the fault of another, the attorneys at Dwyer Williams Churchos are on your side every step of the way. Injured and need help? Go to roydwyer.com.
Months on Frontier.
Taking a look at tomorrow's forecast, we see a break in the action, still some fairly chilly temperatures, partly to mostly cloudy skies. A few showers could linger along the coast in the morning, and then some snow showers up along the Cascades. Steadier rain moves back into the coast on Wednesday, and then heavy rain and strong winds expected on Thursday. We're also going to see some pretty big waves for the coast developing later this week. So a lot of facets to keep an eye on with this multi-day winter storm setup for later this week into this weekend. For the Rogue Valley, we'll see some shower activity on Wednesday, but definitely the wetter conditions will be on Thursday. That precipitation will be heavy and snow levels will be lowering as we go through the day Thursday into Friday. Heavy snow expected on Thursday for the Mount Shasta Ski Park, but some nice weather to hit the slopes the next couple of days. Winter storm watches in place for much of southern Oregon and northern California, along the Sierra Nevada as well. Here's a look at that storm moving in, and you'll notice snow levels continue to lower as we head towards Friday and Saturday. I'll have an update on this winter storm coming up tonight on NewsWatch 12 at 11.
Now we're taking a live look out at talent tonight, brought to you by the Camelot Theater. Watching out for you, this is NewsWatch 12 at 6.
Oregon, nature's wild side.
On the School Watch tonight, Henley High School is home to a two-time state wrestling champ.
A lot of talented athletes in our region, but not only that, 4 other Klamath County School District wrestlers placed in the top 6. This past Friday was the 2024 OSAA State Wrestling Championship. Henley High School student Dylan Clark went home a 2-time champion after placing first in the category. So thanks for joining us for NewsWatch 12 at 6. Our next newscast coming out tonight at 11.